There are celebrity stories that simmer quietly in the background, barely noticed, barely whispered about. And then there are the ones that erupt, sudden, explosive, and impossible to ignore. Chris Evans and Alba Baptista used to belong to the first category. Their relationship was almost eerily private, tucked behind closed doors, carefully shielded from cameras, and wrapped in such silence that fans barely knew what stage they were at. But over the last few months, something shifted. And that shift turned their entire story into one of the most chaotic, rumor-filled narratives of the year. It all began with good news that should have been a peaceful, celebratory moment for the couple. Chris and Alba welcomed their first baby together, a daughter, healthy, loved. Born quietly, without spectacle, no staged hospital photos, no orchestrated PR rollout, no glossy magazine deal, just a simple confirmation that the couple had officially become parents. But the problem with staying silent for so long is that fans start filling in the gaps on their own. And this time, they filled them in with suspicion, confusion, and a whole lot of projection. A large portion of the internet didn't celebrate. They didn't coo over the news, they didn't welcome the baby with warmth. Instead, they began questioning everything, from the timeline, to the secrecy, to the marriage itself. Many fans felt blindsided. They were still adjusting to the news that Evans had quietly gotten married after years of presenting himself as a very private bachelor. They were still adjusting to the idea that he wasn't the eternally single Marvel heartthrob anymore. And then suddenly, boom, he was a father too. It was a lot to take in, especially for fans who had built up a parasocial version of him in their heads. The fan confusion wasn't the real problem. The real problem arrived days later. Someone online posted a blind item, just a few vague lines, no names, nothing explicit. But the description was enough to trigger immediate chaos, a Boston-based A-lister seen at a local bar with a young brunette right after his partner had given birth. Those words landed like a grenade. The internet did not hesitate. They didn't debate. They didn't ask for proof. They immediately took that blind item and stamped the name Chris Evans onto it. From there, the narrative spun completely out of control. Old gossip threads resurfaced. Old sightings got reposted, most of them anonymous, unverified, and impossible to prove. People started claiming they had seen Chris Evans out late with various women at different points in the year. Others insisted they had heard whispers for months that something wasn't right in the marriage. Some even dug up rumors from years earlier, back when he was dating Jenny Slate, and used those old stories as supposed evidence of a pattern. It didn't matter that none of it could be confirmed. The rumor had already taken on a life of its own. Suddenly, fans who had adored Evans for years were turning on him. Comment sections filled with disappointment, outrage, and dramatic declarations about how different he seemed lately. Others went after Alba, blaming her for being distant, quiet, or too private, as if privacy itself was a red flag. The theories got darker and more dramatic as the days passed. Some fans said the marriage had always been a PR stunt. Others said the baby was a PR stunt. And then, in a bizarre twist, the very same people started insisting the cheating scandal was what the PR marriage was built to cover up. People began treating their guesses like facts, treating speculation like truth, treating a blind item like a sworn statement. And the more the couple stayed silent, the louder the rumors became. Then came another wave of online claims, people insisting that Chris Evans had been seen multiple times around Boston bars talking to young women. Again, no photos, no videos, no names, no actual details. Just anonymous posts feeding other anonymous posts until the entire story snowballed into something much bigger than the original rumor. In the world of celebrity gossip, silence is gasoline, and Chris Evans and Alba Baptista were completely silent. No statements, no clarifications, no pushback. Nothing. And silence always triggers two kinds of fans. The ones who say they're ignoring the lies, and the ones who say they're refusing to deny it because it's true. But the rumors didn't stop at cheating. People began dissecting the relationship itself. They questioned the age gap. They questioned Alba's disappearance from social media. They questioned why the pregnancy was private. They questioned why Evans suddenly shifted from being very online to very offline. And worst of all, they questioned Alba's emotional state based solely on the fact that she wasn't posting selfies. Some corners of the internet went even further, suggesting without evidence that something was wrong in the marriage, that Alba was isolated, or that the couple was on the verge of separating now that the baby had arrived. Others insisted that people around Boston protected Chris, shielding him from tabloid exposure and preventing photos of any wrongdoing from ever surfacing. The entire situation turned into a choose-your-own-adventure of rumors. Every fan chose the version they wanted to believe. But none of them had proof. Meanwhile, defenders of the couple stepped up too. They argued that blind items are often fabricated to stir attention and engagement. They reminded people that Boston is full of men who resemble Chris Evans, especially in dim bar lighting where anyone with a beard and a baseball cap becomes a lookalike. They pointed out that new parents often disappear from public view for months at a time because they're exhausted, overwhelmed, and adjusting to a new life. But their voices were drowned out by the chaos. What made everything worse was how quickly the rumor merged with people's existing frustrations. Fans had already been unhappy with the secrecy of the wedding. They'd already been annoyed that they weren't told about the relationship. They'd already been irritated that Chris Evans went from extremely online to almost invisible after marrying Alba. And the cheating rumor became the perfect outlet for all that resentment. Then came the backlash over the baby itself. Some fans claimed the pregnancy timeline didn't add up. Others said Evans had lied about wanting kids. Some insisted the couple hid the baby because their marriage was breaking down. And some claimed the baby was an attempt to repair or solidify a troubled relationship. Again, none of these theories had evidence. But by this point, the truth didn't matter. People weren't interested in facts. They were interested in a story. And the story they wanted was chaos. The truth is, nobody outside that marriage knows what's happening behind closed doors. Nobody knows whether the blind item was about Evans or a completely different actor. Nobody knows if the sightings were real, exaggerated, or entirely fictional. Nobody knows how the couple is adjusting to parenthood, how they communicate, or how they're navigating this new chapter of their lives. But what we do know is this: the internet decided it had the right to fill in the blanks. Fans built their own version of Chris Evans, a version that was single, available, charming, looking for the right person, a wholesome man who matched the character he played on screen. And when reality didn't match that fantasy, when he married young, had a private wedding, then had a baby without including the public, some fans reacted not with support, but with betrayal. The cheating rumor didn't start because of evidence. It started because people were already upset. And the blind item gave them permission to express that upset. In the end, this story isn't really about cheating. It isn't about marriage. It isn't about a baby. It's about how quickly the internet can tear down someone it spent years putting on a pedestal. It's about how silence, privacy, and boundaries can be interpreted as hiding something dark. And it's about how a single vague rumor can become a wildfire that burns everything in its path. Maybe Chris Evans cheated. Maybe he didn't. Maybe the marriage is strong. Maybe it's struggling like any new pair relationship. Maybe the blind item wasn't about him at all. Maybe it was. The point is, we don't know. And until Chris Evans or Alba Baptista choose to speak, and they may never speak, the truth of their marriage will remain theirs alone. The internet will keep guessing. Fans will keep arguing, rumors will keep swirling, and somewhere behind all that noise, two new parents are living a life that nobody online truly understands.